Hello everybody, this is Nick from GhostCat, and I'm going to walk you through how to generate one NFT or generate lots of NFTs. So the idea behind the generating one NFT is to create a preview. So say I have these parts, so I have a background, I have all the skins, all the different skins, the mouths, eyes, etc, etc. And if I run this generate one script, it'll create a preview. So it kind of puts a random combination of them together. If I run it again, it'll be completely different. There you go. So the idea behind this is to have sort of a preview button on your website, or maybe like a generate my own NFT kind of button, and it'll put random parts together. Or just for yourself to see what your art looks like. And the other script will generate a number of NFTs. So here I've set it to 20. It'll put all the images together just like the one, but it'll also create the metadata. So this could be used to show the traits on like OpenSea, or you could adjust this so it works on Tezos or Solana or whatever. All very, very simple. This is the entire script. It's very small. So if I run this one, you can see how it works. The output folder will start filling up. Here's all the different cats. And we'll look at the first one. He's a panda. He's got the drooling mouth, angry eyes. So you look at the metadata, panda, drool, angry. And you can add whatever description you want, the numbers, the name, everything is up to you. And that's about it. So I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to split this video into 3 parts. The first part is showing how the generate one script works and some basics of Python. The second part is the generate many script. And the third part will be how you can just copy this straight from the internet and run it for yourself. So if you're not even bothered about code, you can just set your folders up like this, run the code, and you're done. So yeah, let's jump right in. So before we get started, I'm just going to show you my setup. I'm using Visual Studio Code to run the script, and I have an extension here called Python. So what this does is it adds a little play button here. So if I write anything, say print hello, the classic, or hello world rather, we click this play button here, it'll run the script. So instead of me having to manually type /user/local python blah 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 blah, all of this, I can just click this here. Alright, let's start coding. So the first thing I need to do is take all my images named in these folders like so. So here I have my backgrounds, skin, etc, etc. And what we're going to do is we are going to pick a random one of these and paste it with a random one of these, or rather paste this layer on top of this and then this layer on top of that, and so forth. So to start, I'm going to import OS and random, which are included in Python. And first of all, I'm going to show you how they work. So we can use os.list directory, which is this, list dir, to list the entire list of things inside our folder called 0. Oh, sorry, need a dot there to list all of this. So as you can see, yellow, original, blue, green, red. Now, if you're on a Mac, you will have this hidden DS store file as well. So I'm going to deal with that in a second. Now, if I want a random choice from that, I use random.choice. Wrap all of this in that, and it will return a random one from this. Now, you can see the problem with this is here it shows blue, which is good, but here it shows the DS store file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a quick little helper function to start off. So I'm going to call it list directory no hidden, as I've done in the little preview at the start. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop over all the files, so all of these, and any of them that start with dot, we're not going to take them in. So we'll only accept anything that doesn't start with dot. So with that in mind, make sure none of your files start with dot, because that's usually a hidden file name convention. So for the files in OS list directory path, which is the same path we're going to be inputting, which is this, we want to check that it doesn't start with that dot. sorry. If so, we want to yield that file, which means sort of return it. But yield is different than return because it continues the loop. If you use return here, it'll only return the first one, but yield will return and then run the loop again. Now I want to turn this into a list as well because it's not going to return me a list, so I'll create yet another helper function. Return a list directory no hidden path. Okay, so now we just use our new function, list directory, and run. There we go, green. If we can run this a billion times, and I promise you there will be no hidden DS code file this time. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is start manipulating images, which is opening the images, pasting them, and saving them. So we're going to use this package here called Pillow. The easiest thing to do is run pip install pillow right in your terminal. So if I was to do this, it would install it for me, but I've already got it, so I'm not going to run it again. And the way you import it into your project is, from pillow, which is just PIL, import image. And with that, we can start manipulating images very easily. So the first thing I'm going to do is since we've got here the background layer, I'm just going to name it. Background equals all of this noise here. And with this, we can open an image. And what we have to pass in here is the path. So for example, if I have this image blue here, I would have to pass in .0, which is the folder name, and then /blue.png. So if I didn't have this random choice here, this is how it would open the blue file. So with that in mind, we need to do this and a random choice. So this is going to open the folder 0 and a random one of these. And repeating that for, let's just do a couple of them to show you how it works. We'll have the skin and the mouth. Let's give him some eyes too while we're at it, because why not? So all we have to do is change the 0 here to 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Next up, we need to paste the images onto the background. So we take the background image, which we named here, and we will paste the other images onto them. So first of all, we have the skin, and we need to specify the if we want to reposition it, we could put it here. We could put like 50 on the x-axis and 0 on the y, but my images are all squares. So like this square here, I've made it so this is a square, so it'll paste on perfectly in the middle. Now for the third argument, we have to once again pass in the skin. This is because we are passing on transparent images, so this is a masking property. I won't go into too much detail, you can just copy this. And we'll do the same for the mouth and the eyes. And last but not least, we need to save the image, so let's give it a name. Background.save sample. And now, if we run our code and there's no errors, it should generate a sample for us. So here we go. It's pasted 3 layers on top of our background. If we do it again, we've got a completely different cat. Now, if you want to add another layer or remove layers, you could just delete them, but adding them, my 4th layer is hats. So I could add another one in the exact same way that I did, and just hats. Now if I run this, now our cat has a nice little crown. So just keep doing this for as many layers as you have, and it is that simple. Alright, moving on to the generate many file. I've created another one and copied what we just worked on into here. Now let me just comment this out for now, and I'm going to create another helper function and explain why I'm doing it in a second. So I'm going to call it list length or list len, and it's going to return the length of the directories. So if I did a little bit of movie magic here and pasted all of them at once, if I ran this, you would see 5, 16, 16. So there are 16 files in here. You see the little 16 there. There are 5 in here. There's only 1 in there and 6 in there. So my idea when I created this script is to sort of generate an array of every single combination. So it would show like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 is the first one, and then 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, sorry, 1, 1, 1, all the way up to 5, 16, 16, 16, 6, 1. So it'll generate a whole array of arrays basically, and pick a random one of these. And then from this, it'll say, okay, it's taking the first one from the backgrounds, the second one from the skins, the first one from everything else. This is taking the 5th background, the 16th skin, 16th eyes, mouth, and so on. And so that's why I needed to get the length of the path. So it's dynamics. If I hard coded this here, it wouldn't work for every single different thing. And if I added more images, it wouldn't work anymore. So that's what this is doing. I hope that makes sense. Maybe once we get moving on, you'll understand what I'm doing. So now that we're working with a number of NFTs, we're going to have to create a number. Let's say I'm going to do 20 again, just because it won't take too long to run on my computer. But this could be 100, this could be 10,000, which everyone seems to love, or 1,000, whatever you want. 33333, go crazy. Just make sure while you're testing you keep the number low, otherwise your computer is not going to be happy. So what I was explaining earlier about the length of the arrays, let's create our first array. So for I in range 0 to 6, because there are 5 folders, so this will return 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to length append the lists. Now in Python you can write dynamic strings using f at the beginning, so if I was to do this, I could put I here, and what this will do is it'll append. Let me just print this for you and you'll see exactly what this is doing. Clear that, and now we have the array. So for I in, let's start for the first one. For I in 0, we're going to add the length of the folder 0 into this. So that's this here, the 5. And then the next loop, it'll take 1, which is the second number in this. So I becomes 1. And then we add the length of the skins. So that's the 16 here. And conveniently, I have a lot of 16s, but yours will be different, I imagine. Now, I took a lot of time trying to figure out how to create the most efficient way to create that massive array I was talking about in the beginning. The 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 up to 5, 16, 16, 16, 6, 1. But the best thing I found was using something called iter tools or iter tools, I'm not too sure. So I'm going to import that here. And so we will do this. Iter tools.product, spell it right. And we will use this here, I'll explain in a second, range 0 to k for k in lengths. Okay, so let me break this down for you so it's a bit easier to make sense of all this nonsense I've just written. So if we did range 0 to 5, for example, print that. You can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we repeated that for the next one in lengths, which was 16, we will see all the way up to 15. So what this here does is creates that humongous array that I was telling you about. Am I missing a... There you go. Ah yes, it returns an itertools.product object. So we need to turn this into a list. and hopefully my computer forgives me.
A few moments later.
There you go, it's finally happened. It prints exactly what I was talking about earlier, but you might notice that the number only goes up to 1 lower than the length. This is because, similar to JavaScript or Ruby or anything you worked with in the past, if I had an array like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I choose the 4th element of that, it actually gives me the 5th one. That's because the 0th element is the first. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here all the numbers need to be 1 less than what they actually are, and I'll show you why later on. So without further ado, let's move on to the fun part, which is creating the stupid NFTs. So we're going to do another for loop, and in the range of the number of NFTs. So that's up here, the 20. So this range is just going to create a 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up. So we're going to loop through them, and let me take this again. So now we are going to take this random array, let's space it a little bit, and pick a random one of those basically. So we're going to use the random choice again, so to get our selected value. So choosing a random one out of all of this, say for example we choose this. I'm just going to leave it there for reference so I can explain properly. So if we get a random one, when we're picking the background and whatnot, we need to do it a little bit differently than what we did last time. So let's get rid of all this random choice. Actually, I'll just rewrite everything. So now we're opening an image with the same path, but we want to, let me write it and I will talk because my brain doesn't work so well. So I've written this in a very confusing way, so let me just break it down for you in a little print down here. So this part here, the selected 0 in our case is 4, because selected is this whole array. The 0th one of that is 4, so I've just put 4 here. So our list directory function that we created earlier, if I run that, we will see it returns this. So the 4th one will return the 5th one because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're expecting to get red here. And we are. So with that in mind, this part here is returning red.png. So it picks a random one, does all its magic, and then it opens 0/red, which is just what we want. There's probably a better way to write this, but I just wanted to make it work, honestly. So as we did last time, let's get the skin. So now we'll need to change this to 1, 1, 1. And now that we have all our layers, we need to call that hats as I did down there. We just do exactly what we did before, which is pasting them all. So now with the new one, accessory. And to make sure we never ever get the exact same one, we want to remove this from our random array. So from the array, I think it's random array, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. We want to then remove the selected one. We want to change the name so that it's actually dynamic. So in my case, I'm going to call it Ghost Cat n+1 because I don't want it to start with 0. And with all of that in place, this should print a whole bunch of cats into this folder. So let's try it out. And voila! It's all here. All the random different cats you could possibly want. Now the last thing we need to do is to finish the metadata, or rather start, since we haven't done that at all. So let me just move this up here with the rest of the image stuff. And I actually want to put all of this into an output folder. So this will change to output. So if we run it again, everything should be nicely in the output folder. Great. So on to the final part, which is the JSON file. So I actually just create a template up here. And it's an object. I'm not sure what they're called in Python. It's an object in JavaScript. And we just have to have all the different fields. Now, rather than me typing all this out in front of you, I'm just going to copy and paste the majority of it up to the attributes. Now for the attributes, we need to have it as an array. Ooh. And for every single one, they will have a trait type. This one you can call whatever you want. I'm going to call it the background. And its value will be this here. I want it to be red. So we're going to take, as I mentioned before, this part here will be red.png. So I need to remove that .png by splitting it, choosing the first one, and I'm going to put it all in uppercase. So this here will return red, like so, or blue, or green, or whatever. This is just how I've done it. You can name these however you want. Don't feel like this is the be-all and end-all. And then we'll do the same for skin, like so. And you just repeat this throughout. So I'm going to copy the rest of it so I don't waste all of your time. And there we go. We've got the background, the skin, the mouth, the eyes, the hat, the accessory. So to write the file, we're going to need to get something called JSON imported. And with that, we can open a file and write into it with open. This is all standard Python. And W for write, as let's call it file, very original. We're going to write our JSON file using JSON.dumps. So this is why I needed to import JSON. And indent it so it doesn't look terrible. Okie dokie, so let me just create that folder, metadata, run this again. And when we look inside, we have exactly what we want. Everything is speaking original radioactive cat shock. An original background radioactive cat, and that's a very shocked face. Now, for a finishing touch, I will write a little thing at the end. NFTs saved. So when I run this, I can wait, and then something should pop up here. There you go, NFT saved, just so I know it's done. If I'm doing like 10,000 of these, I can walk away and I want to come back and be able to tell like, okay, it's done. With that, we should be all done for this. I hope you learned something. I hope this has been helpful, and if it has, give me a thumbs up, please. Subscribe and all that goodness. Alright, as promised, for the last part of the video, I'm going to show you how you can just copy this, run it locally, and not have to worry about writing any of this code. What I've done is I've emptied all the folders, as you can see here. The output is empty. The only thing in there is the metadata folder, but that is also empty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this to my GitHub repository. Just call it version 1. There everything added. You can see there's a DS store file again. The Mac seems to love this stuff. And let's push that away. Okay, I've got to sign in, so I will do that behind the scenes. Alright, now that that's all done, we can go to the repository, which I'm going to link in the description below. And what you have to do is, firstly, I'm going to assume that you've installed GitHub, or at least used GitHub in the past. Otherwise, I'll show you one thing you could do right after this. So firstly, if you're using GitHub, just copy this here. You click the code, copy that link, and let's close this. Let's say I wanted it in this cat folder. So I create a folder called test, open a terminal window there, and clone that repository, pasting that string that I copied just now. And by doing that, I will have in here all the folders required, the files required. So if I was to open this folder in GitHub and put all my art in there, and I run this script, I'll have what I want. Alternatively, if you don't have GitHub, you could do this a bit manually. So what I would do is just take the generate many file, and let's say we're in a blank folder. Test number 2. Oops, sorry. Open that folder in GitHub. And for you would just have to do generate many.python. You can call this anything you want, actually. Name doesn't matter. And go here and just copy. And there you have it. You'll have to create the folder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll have to create the folder output. And within output, you will need a folder called metadata for everything to work. And that's all there is to it. If you don't have this button, as I mentioned in the intro, it's a Python. You need to install this for VS Code, and you will have this run button. So, hope everything helped. If you made it this far in the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and check out my NFTs, because the cats that I've used in this video are actually going to be launched very soon. If you want to follow more on that, click the link to Discord or Twitter or the website in the description below. Thanks guys, see you in the next one.